Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Dozens of people have filled the El Cajon City Council chambers this afternoon, protesting the city's policy in regard to working with ICE agents. Back in February, the council voted to allow El Cajon police to work with ICE when it came to deporting violent criminals. And KPBS reporter John Carroll is live outside El Cajon City Hall with more. John?
Maya, earlier this year, the council here voted twice on whether to allow El Cajon police to work with ICE, and both times they voted it down by 3-2. But then along came February, and the vote switched. It became 3-2 to allow police here to work with ICE as long as they stayed within the limits of SB 54. That's the California law that forbids law enforcement from working with ICE. Now, you can see the people in the audience today here with signs indicating where they stand on this. Before the council meeting got underway, a lot of those folks held a rally outside. One of them is El Cajon resident Sergio Conti, who says ICE has been targeting people in El Cajon based simply on the color of their skin and whether they speak Spanish. He says people are scared.
This morning I get 10 calls, and we have pictures of the ICE people, and we know what they're doing. You know, they are looking for some people. Probably they have a. This is situation. The Bill Wells and everybody say they are criminals, and according with the statistic, you know, 75% of the people who are there detained doesn't have any legal problem.
But El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells says the council acted within the law when they voted to have limited cooperation with ICE.
All we were doing is saying that we believe that the Constitution said that the Supremacy Clause said that federal law supersedes state law, and that we were in opposition to SB 54, mostly because California seems to be picking and choosing the laws that it wants to follow and writing legislation for laws it doesn't want to follow. I just don't think it works that way.
Now, Wells disagrees with Sergio Conti when it comes to ICE action in El Cajon. He told me that there has been almost none, so I guess that's just a matter of opinion. But he also went on to point out that 57% of people here in El Cajon, he says, voted for Donald Trump in the last election, knowing full well that he promised to crack down on folks who are here without having their correct papers. Now, the meeting is still going on. I just went and stuck my head in there, and it's well into public comment. It is rather raucous, but no decision will come out of this today. That's because there is no item on the agenda that has to deal with this matter. People are just using the public comment time to make their concerns known one way or the other. Live in El Cajon, John Carroll, KPBS News. Maya?
President Donald Trump says his administration is going to take care of the Afghan allies who fled the Taliban after the U.S. left Afghanistan. In part one of a two-part report, KPBS military and veterans reporter Andrew Dyer says what's said and what's being done are two different things.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Mohammed Rahimi. I am a proud Afghan American.
Mohammed Rahimi was an attorney in Afghanistan where he worked with the U.S. Army. He settled in El Cajon more than a decade ago and is now a U.S. citizen. Rahimi works with Afghan immigrants, so he paid close attention when Trump was asked last month about resettling hundreds or thousands of Afghans who helped U.S. soldiers during the war.
We know the good ones and we know the ones that maybe aren't so good. You know, some came over that aren't so good. And we're going to take care of those people, the ones that did a job, the ones that were told certain things.
But Rahimi says Trump's words are at odds with the community's experience since he took office.
It doesn't make sense because we see one thing, we hear one thing from the president, but we see something different actually in everyday life. If President Trump really means that he wants to support these Afghan allies, then why we don't see it right now?
Advocates say they're frustrated by the administration's suspension of refugee travel and its shuttering of the Afghan relocation office in the State Department.
It's a gut punch because you look at all this work that was done over the course of the last few years.
Until this year, Jessica Bradley Rushing was a deputy director in that office, the State Department's coordinator for Afghan relocation efforts, better known as CARE.
CARE, the office within the State Department, was such a unique place because it was an operation, right? It wasn't just a policy desk that talked about theory. We were physically engaged in relocating folks and changing their lives.
The administration told Congress in June it was shuttering the CARE office within a month. Its staffers were reportedly among the more than 1,300 department employees laid off July 11th. And it's not just the shuttering of one office. Sean Van Diver is the co-founder of nonprofit Afghan Evac. Since 2021, his organization, nonprofits, and many government officials have worked together to help the hundreds of thousands left behind in Afghanistan. But now,
think about what they've done since January 20th, right? On day one, they shut down refugee processing, which means no active duty U.S. military families, no lawyers and prosecutors who put the Taliban away, no female tactical platoon commanders, nobody who wasn't a direct employee of the United States, no family reunifications, no relocation flights. They have ended TPS. They ended parole, both CBP-1 parole they terminated, OAW, Operation Allies Welcome parole, they're just going to let it expire.
So what is the Trump administration's plan for Afghans? Getting a straight answer to that question has been challenging. A State Department spokesperson says the functions of the CARE office now fall under the Office of Afghanistan Affairs, its reorganization, part of its new America First foreign policy. We asked to interview Mary Bishoping, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of South and Central Asian Affairs, and Spencer Cretin, the senior official in the department's Refugee and Migration Bureau. Both requests were denied. A senior White House official tells KPBS special immigrant visas are being processed with hundreds of decisions every week, and that TPS, temporary protected status, was always meant to be temporary, and that those who've lost it can still request asylum. Rahimi says arrests of asylum seekers outside immigration courtrooms have shaken the Afghan community.
On a daily basis, I have conversations with many Afghan members, not only here in El Cajon or San Diego or California, but from across the country, that they are asking me that they have their appointment, but what is my answer to them? How can they go to their appointments, finish the appointment, and leave the courthouse safely without being detained? We have no answer.
One answer came last week in San Diego. More than a dozen veterans attended an immigration hearing alongside a former Afghan journalist. Marine combat veteran Jonathan Liu was one of them.
And I believe this is important work that we're doing as far as standing by the allies who stood by us. We shouldn't be turning their backs on them.
The real face of immigrants, and especially Afghan immigrants, they're people who supported this country. Before coming to the United States, they fought for this country, for the values that this country is based on. They fought for our future, for the future of this country. They fought against our enemies.
Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Well, overall tonight we're dropping down to the mid-60s, continuing to see those partly cloudy skies. And really, as we talk about changes for the rest of the week, it's the marine layer actually going to deepen. So there's that to look forward to, or not, more low clouds and fog. But we also have some changes with the temperatures coming up, a little bit of a roller coaster. I'll break down exactly what to expect coming up.
Chula Vista Mayor John McCann says homeless encampments along the freeway are getting out of control, and he wants them gone. Now the city is working on an agreement with Caltrans to clear encampments along the freeways. KPBS reporter Alexander Wynn is in the newsroom with that story.
Right now, Caltrans is in charge of clearing encampments along the freeways, but that can take months. The agreement will allow city crews to access that land. Crews will have to give 48 hours notice and offers shelter and services. McCann says clearing encampments is a necessity.
Whether they accept help or not, we do offer it, but we can no longer accept homeless encampments that are unsanitary, creating criminal activity and drug use in the city of Chula Vista.
He hopes to have an agreement in place within 6 months. The city of San Diego already has this kind of agreement, and there is a bill making its way through the legislature to make it easier for cities to clear encampments on Caltrans property. In the newsroom, Alexander Wynn, KPBS News.
New numbers released today by the Bureau of Labor Statistics show overall inflation has remained steady even as tariffs are boosting some prices. Michael Yoshida breaks down the numbers and what they mean for your wallet.
Inflation in the United States didn't rise as much as expected, despite tariff rollouts. Consumer prices rose 0.2% in July, keeping the annual inflation rate at 2.7%, according to the latest Consumer Price Index, or CPI, data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Falling gas prices in July helped keep overall inflation in check. But a broad array of products did get more expensive last month, as tariffs are beginning to be passed along to consumers.
This could be the calm before the storm. This was measuring inflation for July, but there were a whole slew of tariffs that went into effect at the beginning of August. And so it might take a few more months before those fully make their way to the consumer.
Tuesday's data showed core CPI did rise 0.3% from June, the fastest increase since January, bringing the annual rate to 3.1%, the highest in 5 months. The number, which excludes energy and food prices, which tend to be more volatile on a month-to-month basis, is widely viewed as a good measurement of underlying inflation trends. The data showed prices for things like rent, medical care, used cars and trucks, and household furnishing increased.
Things that are necessary and regular household expenses continue to go up at an outsized pace. So that pressure that household budgets feel is unrelenting.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida, KPBS News.
Coming up in a few minutes, we take a closer look at what the latest inflation numbers mean for the hospitality industry. Civil rights leader Martin Luther King said power is the strength required to bring about social, political, or economic changes. A local religious leader told KPBS's Amita Sharma that the powerful in America are making a difference in those arenas, but it's the wrong kind.
As lead minister of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Diego, Justine Sullivan sees firsthand how power, or the lack of it, plays out among her congregants. She defines power as access to resources and the ability to make things happen for ourselves. And that kind of power is taking blow after blow. Sullivan points to working families losing aid while the rich get tax cuts. This on top of existing inequality. Nearly $80 trillion in wealth has been transferred from most Americans to the richest 1% in the last 50 years. Sullivan also offers the example of deportations of undocumented people without due process.
It's an irresponsible exercise of power based on a worldview that I do not share. I do not share the idea that there is not enough to go around and that we have to take care of our own before we offer it to others.
But, she says, Americans can exercise their own power by speaking out against injustices. In fact, she believes it's especially incumbent on people of privilege to act.
But if I don't use my power on behalf of whatever I can, if I don't move whatever levers I have to try to make it better, then I am complicit.
Sullivan argues that to effectively take back their power, Americans need to stop warring among themselves and putting one another through purity tests that require everyone to agree on everything all the time. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
Public Matters is a partnership with KPBS, iNewsSource, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters. There's a new way for residents in Southeastern San Diego to get two medical appointments, to the grocery store, or even to visit friends and family. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco says leaders believe it's about more than just transportation.
I am very excited to be here today to announce the official launch of Southeastern Connect.
At Market Creek Plaza, local leaders rolled out a new way for residents of Choya's View, Emerald Hills, and Mount Hope to get around. The electric on-demand rideshare service cars and shuttles can be booked through an app or by phone, and it'll be free through November. It's designed for residents who've struggled with transportation gaps.
These people may be without access to personal cars, are older adults, or individuals with disabilities.
These neighborhoods are classified by the state as low resource, grappling with higher poverty rates. The majority of residents are Hispanic, with many households lacking reliable access to a car.
Where public transportation may be inadequate, this option also helps fill those gaps, getting people to their healthcare appointments, to grocery stores, or to even connect with other family members and loved ones.
Transportation barriers cause millions of Americans to miss medical appointments each year, often leading to worse health outcomes. District 4 Council member Henry Foster says the project is about more than rides.
It's a commitment to equity, environmental justice, and a healthier future for all of our residents.
The service is part of California's climate investments, with electric shuttles aimed at cutting emissions in communities that have historically faced heavier air pollution.
For decades, our community has faced barriers to transportation, barriers to jobs, education, healthcare, and opportunity.
Leaders hope breaking those barriers will mean cleaner air, better access to health care, and more opportunity close to home. The 4-year pilot is run by the San Diego Association of Governments and the Urban Collaborative Project. It's funded through a mix of state, federal, and local dollars. And if people use it, they say it could be a model for communities statewide. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
School bus drivers do more than just get students to and from school safely each day. They're often the first line of defense in a crisis. The Cajon Valley School District hired a team to train its bus drivers on crisis response ahead of the first day of school on Thursday. The School Transportation Active Threat Response Training Program, or START, teaches bus drivers to de-escalate everything from bullying to an active shooter. Jim Levine is the program's founder.
We focus so much emphasis on the schools to make sure that they're safe environments. We have to do the same thing with the bus drivers and the buses.
I thought it was great. I thought it was, I thought it was way overdue.
The Cajon Valley School District is the first in California to take the START training program. Starting a new life away at college can be stressful, but parents can help set their children up for success. Mandy Gaither has more on what every young adult should know about their health before heading off to college.
It's a new world full of independence and decision-making. For some college students, the transition isn't easy.
It's a new situation. There are new expectations. We might be in a new city where we don't know our resources. We might be away from our pediatrician for the first time, and the doctor we've seen for potentially 18 straight years.
Dr. Zachary Bittinger with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center says parents can help prepare their children for decisions they may be faced with making by talking through the risks of substance abuse and sexual health.
Because the truth is, they'll make the decision that they want to, regardless of our advice. But we need to make sure that they understand the implications.
Bittinger says to also help them take control of their health by making sure they know their health history. If their past includes anxiety or depression or other mental health conditions, make sure there's a plan in place where they can get help if needed. Also, if the child takes medications, make sure they know how to get those prescriptions refilled. He says to also make sure they have contact information for a healthcare provider should they need one, and talk about the importance of taking care of basic health needs.
Things that we take for granted, like our diet, our exercise, our sleep, it all gets put under a microscope when it comes to college. So making sure that we talk about those things can hold everybody accountable.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
This fall may be a little tougher for parents who want their young kids vaccinated against COVID-19. The CDC says the FDA might not renew authorization for Pfizer's vaccine that was made for children under 5 years old. Without FDA approval, healthy children under that age would have to get an off-label dose. Earlier this year, the CDC said it will no longer recommend the shots for healthy children or for pregnant women. The CDC says children accounted for roughly 4% of all COVID-19 hospitalizations last fall. As we reported earlier, U.S. inflation didn't rise as much as expected in July despite the tariff rollout, but months of increases are adding up. Ivan Rodriguez reports on what it all means for consumers and the hospitality industry.
Local restaurants across the country are scrambling as some key costs skyrocket.
We certainly have seen increases in a lot of the proteins, with certainly beef, chicken, pork.
In July, hamburger beef at the wholesale level is up nearly 21% compared to the same month 10 years ago, according to federal data. Chad Mutre with the National Restaurant Association says the increase in costs is becoming a pressure point for many restaurants across the country.
We have seen menu prices that have increased every single month this year, and certainly over the last 5 months. And so that has been really a function of the fact that those costs have continued to rise.
For consumers who remain nervous about the economy's future, many are cutting back and becoming less willing to pay higher prices at restaurants. That's putting some restaurants in a position to choose between rising menu prices and eating the cost.
The reality is that restaurants operate on very thin margins, right? 3 to 5% is the typical restaurant.
In the first half of 2025, U.S. restaurants and bars saw one of the weakest 6-month periods of sales growth in the past decade, according to a CNN analysis of Commerce Department data. Mutre says that there is a silver lining. Even though consumers may not be eating out as much, they still believe it's worth it.
If you're not going on as nice of a vacation, or you're not going out and buying that large ticket item, but you still want to go out and eat and have a great meal at a great value.
In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Well, we have a little bit of a temperature roller coaster to look forward to. A cooling trend starting Thursday, but by the time we get to the end of the weekend, those temperatures are going to start to climb back up, hence the roller coaster. The other change we have to look forward to is the marine layer deepening a little bit. So let's break down all of this, starting off with what to expect for tonight. So overall, Oceanside at 66, same deal in San Diego. Partly cloudy skies closer to the coast. They disappear by the time we work our way farther inland. Borrego Springs in the mid-70s tonight, 66 in Mount Laguna as well. We look ahead to tomorrow. We're in the triple digits in Borrego Springs, 110. We are going to see some heat watches, extreme heat warnings out as we get into some of our desert regions through Wednesday evening. So that's something to keep in mind, that for some of us, this is dangerous heat that we're talking about. As we work our way closer to the coast, we get down to the 90s, then 80s for Escondido. We're in the upper 70s for Oceanside, mid-70s for San Diego tomorrow. Taking a look at our 5-day outlook along the coast, not too much changes here with the temperature. We go from 78 down to 76, even 75 by the time we get to Sunday. We see more changes as we work our way inland. Mostly sunny conditions Wednesday, Thursday, but plenty more sunshine as we get into the weekend. Temperature-wise, we're in the mid-80s for Wednesday and Thursday. We drop down to 80 by the time we get to Saturday, then our slow climb back up. So we're kind of bouncing back and forth between below historical averages, in the ballpark of historical averages, and then even in some cases maybe working towards temperatures above our historical averages for this time of year. In our mountain regions, we're getting close to 80 for Wednesday, but then we see those temperatures drop. We get into the 60s by Saturday, a quick jump back to the mid-70s by Sunday. In our desert regions, I mean, we are not getting out of the triple digits, that's for sure. It's that time of year. But we go from dangerous heat to closer to where we should be this time of year with just 100 degrees by the time we get to Saturday. Doesn't last long. We see those temperatures start to climb back up by the time we get to Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Anna Azalian.
After an increase in deportations and self-deportations, dozens of pets have been surrendered to shelters in Los Angeles County. Veronica Miracle finds out how the shelters are preparing if more abandoned animals show up at their doorstep.
What's this? You want some of this?
All of these dogs you're seeing now, just a short time ago, had loving homes, but every single one of them is now looking for a new family. Their original owners, they've been ordered to leave the country, deported in recent immigration raids. That's according to Christopher Valles, who's with the LA County Department of Animal Care and Control.
So Delilah and Kizzy, they're approximately 3-month-old kittens. Came to us by their owner, who was in a position where they were being deported or self-deported.
Can you show them to us?
Yeah, definitely.
So cute. They look like little twins.
These kittens have already been adopted pending their space surgeries and will both get a chance to have a life outside the shelter.
Since mid-June, 28 cats and dogs have been surrendered to LA County animal centers because their owners have had to self-deport or have been deported due to the recent ICE raids. Now, these animals, the majority of them have been adopted to new homes, but there is concern that more could be coming if more ICE raids continue to happen in the Southern California area.
This sweet dog is Oso. He's been at the Lancaster Animal Care Center for 2 months. He was one of the first dogs turned in by an owner due to sweeping ICE raids across Southern California. He's still available for adoption.
What are the stories that you're hearing from people when they come to surrender their animals?
They're only letting us know that they're leaving the country and they're in a position where they can't care for their animal anymore. We haven't had any situations where animals have been abandoned or left behind at a property or anything like that. So we're seeing responsible pet owners come in and letting us know what the reasons why they're surrendering their pet, and we're able to support them.
LA County officials started tracking the number of animals impacted by deportations so shelter staff could prepare for an influx of animals. That data will also help reunite the animals with their original owners if they ever come back and if the animals haven't been adopted.
And that was Veronica Miracle with that report. This month, San Diego County Animal Services is waiving all pet adoption fees at the Bonita and Carlsbad shelters. It's part of the Clear the Shelters campaign. You can visit the South and North shelters Tuesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.